Most people aren't aware of this, but the internet was developed because of the threat of nuclear war. So back when we had the Cold War, after World War II, the nuclear bomb was around, and Russia started getting the bomb, and then America and Russia started to decide to see who could build more bombs more quickly. And we had this concept of mutually assured destruction, whose acronym is MAD, mutually assured destruction. And it was kind of thought that, hey, if you blow us up, we're going to blow you up, and we're both going to die. So it's mutual suicide if we get in a war. And why would you want to get in a war? Yeah, so that was the age I grew up in. And the internet came out of this age because there was still some thinking, right? People thought, oh, well, we could have a limited exchange. And if we have a limited exchange and only a few cities get blown up, we're going to need to make sure that we could still communicate. And so the way that communication used to occur before we had packet switching was that we had circuit switched networks, and circuit switched networks look like that. We've already kind of looked at that, where an actual physical connection was made between two locations. And so if we had like some sort of communication between two locations like this, right? Like let's say the communication went up here and then it switched over there, right? And then if UCLA was talking to University of Utah and we blew up San Francisco, then UCLA is no longer talking to University of Utah. Of course, they were thinking about this in a military sense. So if like one base was talking to another base, or people at San Diego military base were talking to Washington, D.C., and that connection was going through Denver, and Denver got blown up, then the connection would be lost. And so that was known as circuit switched networks. And it really, pretty much is happening just like this, a circuit switched network, an old telephone switchboard. And so then they came up with this idea of packet switching. So ARPANET came out of DARPA, which stands for Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, and they created the ARPANET. And ARPANET was to become the internet. And the first time a message was actually sent on the ARPANET was October 29th, 1969. And it was a message that was sent between UCLA and SRI. So this map that I was just showing you right here was in 1969. This is what was to become the internet, what it looked like. And the first message that was ever sent was sent between UCLA and SRI. And they used a different type of sending messages. So instead of establishing an old circuit network like with the phone service, they decided to break the message up into packets and then send those packets over a network. And this was called packet switching. And those packets could find their destination however they wanted to find their destination. And using modern technology in modern terms, the packets get routed to their destination. And so we have things on the internet called routers. And those routers, right, here's like a portion of what I'm going to send to you. So here's maybe the whole of what I want to send to you. And we break that up into packets, and then we just say, go to this destination. We throw it out on the network, and then the routers will find a route to the destination. And so originally this is what the ARPANET looked like in 1969. But then not too much longer after that, 1973, it kind of looked like this. And so when it started to look like this, we started to have some capabilities. If all of this stuff in the middle got blown up, well, San Diego is still going to be able to talk with DC because the messages will get routed. They'll get routed in this using this route here. And so that was the idea behind it. And the messages would get broken up into packets. So what we want to send will get broken up into packets, and it'll be packet switching, meaning the packets could find their own route to their destination. And so that's the interesting thing. Or to me, that's one of the things you have to talk about when you talk about networking and do an introduction to networking. Is the biggest of all networks is the internet, and that came out of DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, which does all kinds of things. They're really hugely into robots right now, and they're having a challenge to see who can come up with radio frequency communication that doesn't get jammed. But this is like creating and working on science and technology to protect America and also to protect the American way of life, which sometimes means that we go out and we fight for causes around the world. And so, they originally created the ARPANET, which was then to become the internet. And the reason it was created was because we wanted to be able to communicate in the event of a nuclear war. And so, if all this stuff got blown up in the middle, the message could still be routed going that way. Yeah. And so that was the origin of the internet and the World Wide Web. And there's a difference, as I've already mentioned, between the internet and the World Wide Web. So that's important to know about. The World Wide Web being a service, or almost like software that runs on the internet, and the internet is the physical infrastructure. The internet is the physical infrastructure, the hardware, the cables, the computers, the satellites that connect all of these devices together and allow messages to be sent back and forth. That's the internet, and the World Wide Web is a service that's running on that. So that's just a good terminology to know about. That's a little bit of history about the internet, and that it came out of DARPA and it was originally called the ARPANET. It came to life in 1969, which was 2 years before me. So it's kind of interesting to know. And the last thing I'll just point out is I was looking up for images about nuclear explosions in America and maps and things like that. And here are the regions you want to live in America if you want to have the better chances to survive nuclear war. I thought that was kind of an interesting map, but it does make me kind of want to move to Northern California. And then here are the different U.S. nuclear reactors, which I thought was also interesting. Yeah, U.S. nuclear reactors. Just this is completely anecdotal, this last part. And, also more nuclear reactors there. So kind of cool to check out. All right, that's the internet, that's the World Wide Web, and we're talking about networking.